Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be I was a man hating feminist, but Corey Wayne changed my life. Well, I've got a really good email success story, and it actually comes from a woman who is now married to a guy who is also a 3% man. And what's interesting is when she met her now husband, she was a green-haired, man-hating feminist that grew up in LA in a totally pampered lifestyle. And so it's really interesting how these two met and got together. And it's like textbook right out of 3% Man and how he handled everything. And it's interesting because after they were dating for a bit, she saw my books on his bookshelf. He obviously had 3% Man as well as Mastering Yourself, and he had been an avid student and reader for years. And it's really cool to see how his masculinity and his strength and embodying what I teach in my books and in my videos and all the articles on my website and all the other posts on my social media. And so it completely turned this woman's life around, as she said. And it's just so interesting. It's just a great example of what it's like and how the success that you can have as a man, that you can influence somebody that's so unhappy, so miserable, so angry, so man-hating, if you will, because she got all kind of caught up in that third wave feminist dysfunctional ideology that's pretty prevalent out there in California, where Hitler and hair gel, who's about to get recalled, it looks like. I think they have the signatures now in California, so it'd be nice for them to vote that jerk off out of office. I'm totally supportive of that. So I got a quote that I wrote, and then we'll go through her email. The quote says, "A strong-centered masculine alpha male can turn the hardest man-hating green-haired feminist into the most loving, sweet, and submissive queen. When a man is masculine, decisive, positive, playful, determined, and doesn't let other people push him around, he will have his choice with women. Feminine energy grows the strongest when it is surrounded by dangerous but kind masculinity. Why? Strong masculine energy can make the hardest of heart masculine woman turn into a sweet, feminine, submissive goddess that purrs like a kitten. This is the nature of divine masculinity and femininity and the cause of passionate sexual polarity. It is the way and the will of the Creator. Violate this divine law, and there will be hell to pay. Honor it, and your life and relationships will be effortless." So let's take a look at her email and see how she and her husband joined the 3% Club. Here's to both of you guys. I'm so proud of both of you. This is one of the best success stories I've gotten in a long time. And I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I did. She says, "Dear Coach Wayne, I felt I had to write into you, sharing my success story due in large part to your amazing work. I feel like that if it wasn't for you, I might have never met my husband. First off, I am a 30-year-old woman, native Californian, married, mother of one. My story begins back in the summer of 2017 when I was a typical angry feminist chick with my hair dyed bright green." I've seen plenty of them. Usually you see pictures of them because they're in Antifa, because Andy NGO, Andy No, I guess how you pronounce his name, who's got a great book that's on the New York Times bestselling list by now. You always see their mugshots, and you could tell these once beautiful women who just make themselves so ugly and unattractive just are missing some strong masculine centered presence in their life. And then you see the soy boys that get arrested along with them, which she also will talk about in her email. She says, "Before I became a full-blown feminazi, I had lived a pretty privileged life growing up in Los Angeles. Both my parents were wealthy investment bankers, and most of my life, I never wanted for much. In my early 20s, I became an alternative model, posing for several high-profile magazines. I was introduced to third-wave feminism through my circle of friends and became pretty engrossed in the culture, or the cult. It's an ideology, by the way, and it's a fucked up, dysfunctional ideology. The turning point came when my father was diagnosed with cancer in the summer of 2017. I was devastated and looking for emotional support. I had posted on Twitter asking for messages and prayers for my dad and was shocked that people seemed to launch attacks at me instead. People were telling me that I shouldn't be asking for sympathy for my dad because he was a cis white male. I was extremely angry and began to fire back, and that's when everyone on my Twitter feed seemed to turn on me. Isn't that interesting? Then you realize when you go through difficulty and challenges in life, you find out who's really on your team and who's not. And this is what you see with a lot of people on the left. They want domination and total submission of everybody who disagrees with them. And they will destroy anybody that gets in their way if you let them. It's why when you encounter a bully in life and they try to intimidate you and they get in their face, usually they're really weak and you need to bust them in their fucking mouth. Some people just deserve it and need it. They need to know where the boundaries are. Sometimes, I think every guy goes through that growing up. You encounter a bully. I wrote about it in Mastering Yourself. I had a kid in the neighborhood that was always bullying me, and eventually I stood up to him and got tired of getting pushed around and punched, and I clocked him a few times. And he never messed with me again. And I always felt better after that. I felt strong. I felt like I had my power back. She says, I received death threats, people doxing me, etc. It got so bad that I even got a rock thrown through my window. These are really nice people. The kind of people you want to take home to mom and dad. Fearful, I contacted the police, and it's at this point my future husband enters the picture. He was the original detective assigned to my case, and from the moment I saw him, I was extremely attracted, but still reeling from my feminist indoctrination. I was very weary of getting involved with any man. Plus, with all my time spent within the culture, I was always surrounded by so-called male feminists. Now listen to what she says about these guys. And you know what's interesting is when you see these guys that are supposedly the male feminists, what they're trying to do is they're trying to fly under the radar and be a nice guy and say, yeah, I'm a feminist too, because they're hoping that by bending themselves into a pretzel that they're going to get access to the box. And usually they just end up with blue balls. She says, I was always surrounded by so-called male feminists who honestly always creeped the shit out of me, as it was obvious they were sucking up, seeking attention, just a bunch of very weak dudes. Yep. Only a few weeks in, Bob, my husband, came to tell me that my case was being reassigned because he was being transferred to another part of the LAPD. What I didn't expect was him asking me out to dinner on the spot. He explained that since there was no more conflict of interest, we were free to see each other. Notice what she says. The man's textbook, he learned my material. He mastered it. He was direct and didn't beat around the bush, which again, I found very attractive. Feminine energy is attracted to masculine energy. It's that simple. It's the way the Creator created us. You can like it, you can hate it, but don't bitch at me, because if you don't like it, talk to the big man upstairs. But I decided to be difficult and put him through a bunch of shit testing because, again, I was still a somewhat brainwashed man-hater. To my surprise, Bob took everything gracefully and just told me to call him if I changed my mind. Remember, the strongest negotiating position is being able to walk away and mean it. You set healthy boundaries. You're like, I'd love to spend time with you, but I'm not interested in anything platonic, anything that violates myself and my dignity. She says, that caught me off guard since all the other losers I had been involved with always kicked and screamed and made a big fuss. For the next month or so, I couldn't get my mind off Bob. Just being stubborn and waiting for him to contact me again like every other guy had always done, but he didn't. Good student. Great student, I should say. When I couldn't take it anymore, I hit him up and told him we could hang out, but only as friends first. Isn't that interesting? I've done 2 videos on, the first one earlier in the week was how women manipulate men with the friend zone. And then there was the one I did just the other day. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they were 2 consecutive ones. The one that came right after that is the second one. Again, to my surprise, he said he was more than happy to hang out, but that he wasn't interested in friendship. That's when I knew there was something different and special about this guy, and to be honest, it really turned me on. He's masculine. He's dangerous. But he's not going to put up with any BS. He wants what he wants, and if she wasn't willing to give him what he wants, he was happy to have her go on down the road. I relented, and we went out on our first date. A few months into the relationship, I moved in with Bob, and that's when I discovered that my man was a fan of Corey Wayne. Imagine that. Cheers. If you like these mugs, you can get them on Teespring, the Coach Corey Wayne store. But you should only get one if you're on the verge of becoming a 3% man or 3% club or 3% woman, or you feel you are. These must be earned. On one of his bookshelves, I saw that he had a paperback of 3% Man and a hardcover of Mastering Yourself. He also had an audio copy on his laptop, and don't ask how I found that out, LOL. Naughty, you naughty snooping little girl. Intrigued, I delved in and discovered your website, YouTube channel, and articles. I became a huge fan myself and have read your first book over 12 times. Isn't that interesting? I always recommend that couples should read my book together. Once they get involved and they get serious, it's always good for both of them to understand it. So she can understand her role, he can understand his role, they can work together as a team, and then they can raise really great humans when they have a family. And their kids will grow up and be balanced. And when they encounter this feminist bullshit in life, they can tell those fucking pussies to fuck off and go on down the road. Bob would eventually tell me that he had been following you for years and that you had dramatically turned his dating life around. Coach, I am happy to report that Bob and I have been married for a little over 2 years, are the parents of a one-year-old little boy, and we are expecting our second child. If it wasn't for you, I may have never met my wonderful husband. Your work changed his life, and in turn helped change mine. From an angry, misguided man-hater to a loving and supportive wife and mother. Me and my husband thank you deeply, and your work really does change lives. Thank you again, Coach. Well, thank you both. Because of you, here's a sip of purified water. You guys are going to make great humans and have a great family, and the world needs balanced parents like the two of you, because not only are you influencing your children, but you and your family influence everybody that you encounter. And especially this day and age with so much weak soillennial bullshit, especially people in our government that are corrupt and have gone off their absolute rocker and are out of their fucking minds with all this coronavirus pandemic nuttery that's going on. It's like we need divine masculinity and divine femininity in the world more than ever. So thanks for writing in and sharing such a great success story. And if you're watching this video and you need help in your personal or your professional life, and you'd like to book a coaching session with yours truly, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session when you get to my website, understandingrelationships.com. And until next time, I will talk to you soon.